PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to another edition of PCN, Stories from Your Communities. This week we'll visit some beautiful gardens in Kingston, and we'll stop into Plymouth 400 offices to get an update on this summer and beyond.
PCN meets up with some sword-fighting actors preparing for a show at the Spire, and we'll get a beach update from Duxbury.
New England Wildlife visited some kids at Plymouth South Middle School with a summer program. Doctor's Orders gives us helpful information on lower back, and Town Talk comes from Pembroke.
It's going to be a great show, and we begin at Nelson Park in Plymouth for a touching and memorable event. According to the 2012 statistics, 22 U.S. veterans commit suicide every day. The Active Heroes National Charity hosts the Carry the Fallen event in cities across America to raise awareness of this tragic fact and help reduce the suicide rate. They recently held an event in Plymouth, and PCN met up with their organizers.
On Saturday, June 13th, the Active Heroes gathered on the lawn at Nelson Memorial Park in Plymouth to raise awareness of the high rate of suicide among our returning veterans. Before they left for their march through Plymouth, we met with team leaders from the Team Minutemen.
Team Minutemen is your major Boston, New England team, and today we are doing one of our quarterly marches. We do fundraising for 3 months, and then we come out and we do the awareness portion, which is where we put on all of our stuff. And we come out and march, and we do high touristy areas like this so that more people see us, because people need to know that 22 veterans a day are killing themselves.
The event, known as Carry the Fallen, has raised over $300,000 for a military family retreat center since its first march in 2012. The 7-mile march starts here at Nelson Memorial Park. They'll stop at a few spots along the way to give speeches, and then eventually later tonight make their way back here. Normally, the group will march in cities, but they saw a great chance for better visibility here in America's hometown.
It's a tourist area. There's lots of people, so we're trying to get our message across, and in order to do that, you need people. It's beautiful. I mean, we got permits. I think we can actually raise awareness that we didn't get in Boston, which is where we've done all of our other events. Therefore, what better place than Plymouth Rock?
While everyone at the event has been affected directly or indirectly by the high rate of suicide, these gatherings are about more than just raising awareness of the problem.
You know, I never took suicide very seriously. We have a big stigma about suicide and going to get help. We have a thing that goes around in the military where you try to put down getting help. And when we arrived here, we arrived in August. We moved here in August, and not long after I got here, I found out that one of my good friends from Fort Campbell and from Iraq, Jonathan Sprader, had committed suicide. We just want them to understand that there is no weakness in getting help, that you should be available to get or give help if you can, that you need to beat the stigma. If you need help, you need to ask for it, because that's the only way we're ever going to know. And the more we do this, the more they come out, the more people will see it and get help. We have people who are on this team who they're alive today because they were here.
It's been 4.5 years since my son is gone, and there's not a day when I don't think about him. There's not a day when I don't cry. But I have the hope that I can help another parent from going through what I go through. I hope that I can help another soldier think twice before he takes his life. And that's what I live for now, that one thing.
As the bugle plays taps, 22 of the marchers kneel, symbolizing the 22 veterans that commit suicide each day.
in a dark place back in 2013, being a veteran, retired, suffering from PTSD, and I met through friends, through social media. This event came up. I did the first one, and here I am today.
In downtown Plymouth, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News.
Beach season is in full swing, and if you're in the Duxbury area, there's some do's and don'ts to remember before you spread out that beach blanket and unpack your cooler. PCN's Brian Sullivan met up with Duxbury's Harbor Master and Recreation Director to get the scoop.
It's safe to say that summer is here for good. Well, at least until the fall rolls around. And if you live in a coastal town like Duxbury, there's a good chance the beach will be a destination point for you on many occasions this season. We met up with some officials from the town to talk safety and luckily made it over the Powder Point Bridge and found a parking spot before the place filled in. We spoke with the Harbor Master to get an idea of things people should watch for this summer.
One of the issues that we are very cognizant of and very strict about are speeds, motor vehicle speeds. At no time are motor vehicles enabled or allowed to travel above 10 miles an hour in any parking lot, across the Powder Point Bridge, and 15 miles an hour on the back road, unless you're in a restricted area because of endangered species. That's 5 miles an hour. And on the front beach, the ORV corridor, no speed greater than 10 miles an hour.
Parents and guardians also need to remember to keep their eyes on the little ones once they get to the beach.
When you're on Duxbury Beach and you're facing the sun, you are not watching your children at the water's edge. So it is extremely important to watch your children. A missing child on a barrier beach can be extremely stressful for not only the parents, but everybody involved and required to and responsible to try to find that child.
For anyone new to off-roading onto the beach, there is a big difference between all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. Not knowing the difference could get you stuck.
Any four-wheel drive will be fine. It's the all-wheel drives that create the problem, and it's because of their height off the sand. Our beach gets very rutty, and because of motor vehicles, and those ruts can create real serious access issues with all-wheel drive vehicles.
While there might be some stipulations, canines are welcome at Duxbury Beach.
You're allowed to have dogs down here. It's very unique, even in the presence of endangered species. Make sure you go to the town hall, get the free permit that we give you. They'll give you rules and regulations, and they'll give you a dog tag that the dog has to be with the dog at all times. And please, keep that dog on a leash at all times.
While dogs are allowed at the beach, inflatable rafts and kites are not. And now that the season is in full swing, lifeguards are on the beach 7 days a week from 9 to 5 through Labor Day. But even with them, there are still things to watch out for.
We do have a fairly gradual beach going out as low tide goes out. We don't have the dramatic drop-offs like on the Cape beaches, but that doesn't mean that we can't have challenging surf conditions, possible riptide, things like that. You know, animals live in the ocean. We have had sharks here before. We have had seals. So people need to be aware of those kinds of things. But I think overall, the biggest thing is keep an eye on your children. There's a lot of people. There can be, on a busy Saturday, Sunday, there can be literally thousands of people just in this area to the east of the resident parking lot. So, you know, everybody's, you know, got a shirt off and a similar cover bathing suit, and it's a real, can get very congested. So you need to make sure that your kids are safe, that you're watching them at all times.
Unfortunately, I can't stay here at the beach all day because I have work to do. So reporting from Duxbury, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News.
Over the weekend, the Kingston Garden Club held a garden tour, and there were 6 separate homes involved. Each home and subsequent garden showcased their personal landscaping style in its summertime glory. We stopped into one of the homes on the route to check it out.
Kingston Garden Tour 2015 is all about visiting gardens in Kingston that have distinct characteristics based on the owner's vision. This property began as a sandlot in 1993. It really was a creation of my husband and mine, our vision of what do we want? Do we want to have it totally manicured? Do we want to have it part created and part natural, and that's what we came to. The hill in the back is naturalized. The birds and bees and critters have left us a lot of gifts, and we have added to those. We have a horse chestnut tree that was given to us by bird. We have Rosa rugoso, we have ferns, we have beautiful, beautiful things that we never even thought to plant, and they're thriving here. When we first built this house, we realized that the backyard was probably 1/8 of the size of our former backyard. And we decided that the backyard needed to be a place of meditation, peace, and harmony. And so we have tried to accomplish that by placing statuary, outdoor music, decks where people can enjoy the ambiance and just relax, as opposed to it being a place of high activity.
Every one of the 6 houses that are showcased, an artist is on the property doing a plein air drawing, painting. I happen to be the only one that is the landowner and the owner of the house, and also an artist. So it's a little unique at this property because the landscaper is also the artist. But I think one of my strengths as an artist is I have a pretty good eye. And I knew some basics about gardening, like you want to try to create little rooms. So I built a pergola fence and another pergola fence to create a backyard room. I have small walkways that open up into bigger areas. Things that I've seen by just driving around and looking at professional landscapers work. I kind of steal their ideas and think of what they're doing. We did have a walkway, a cement walkway went bad, and we had to break it up, and I used the pieces to create a wall. We've mostly let nature take its course and try to keep the stuff that grows naturally. Gardening is an ongoing process. It's constantly changing and making adjustments. When people have seen the property, and I've already talked to some of them, they can see that it was a tremendous amount of work. And that work has been spread out over the 23 years that we've owned the property.
We're hoping that people who come to visit will see the different ways that you can envision a topography, grow plants that are comfortable with the environment, and thrive.
Well, that's absolutely beautiful garden.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the one who has to weed it, however.
Yeah, it would be a lot of work, yeah. But
a lot of work.
It's very peaceful. I enjoy
Yes.
it. The folks at the New England Wildlife Center teamed up with Energy to teach some kids, some grade school kids, all about energy. Using turtles, snakes, birds, and squirrels, the kids got a chance to see how energy is involved in everything we do and see. We stopped into the Plymouth South Middle School to catch some of their presentation.
But each and every one of these animals, this painted turtle and the red-tailed hawk, they have to gather their energy every day. One of our main goals in doing these programs is to teach them the scientific method. Our concept, to sort of put this all in perspective, the funder for this is Entergy. And Entergy gives the funding for us to come in and do a 5-session course with the 5th graders here in order to understand the flow of energy in the environment. So we're talking about habitats, we're talking about individual animals, plants, so we talk about things like photosynthesis, and we talk about how the body uses energy, and how species use energy, how populations use energy, how habitats use energy.
The program was focused on energy use, and energy use through the environment up to trophic levels. We brought in animals from very different places in the world, very different places in the environment. And we talk a little bit about how each of those have evolved to save energy and use energy. So today I think we had a red-tailed hawk, we had a ball python, we had a painted turtle, and we had a red-footed tortoise. And we sort of played what's the same and what's different with the kids. They looked at one species compared to the other, compared to a human, and they sort of evaluated the energy use based on the characteristics that they were seeing. These kids were incredibly engaged. I was a little worried. This is a pilot program funded by Energy, the first time we've ever run this. And we were really pleased with their response. They were focused, engaged, especially when they came to our facility. They really carried the facts with them, and especially as a way of making this more relatable to them, we translated everything into cheeseburgers. That was our fictional unit of energy, and it was a really cool way for them to sort of, be able to relate to it. And they carried that fact with them, and everything I was doing, they were translating into cheeseburgers, and it's pretty cool. The couple things I hope they take away from this is that energy is the power to change. It's what drives the world. I hope they take away that only 10% of the energy gets transferred up each level of the trophic level. And the real thing I really hope they take away as they move into high school and beyond is that energy is a single function. It has a lot of different forms, but it can be used and thought of as a single unit across the board. And it's not a scary concept. It's very easy. We hope to demystify it a little bit with this program, and I think we did.
Each year brings us closer to Plymouth's 400th celebration, slated for 2020. Many plans are already underway, both long-term for the state and locally for Plymouth. PCN stopped into Plymouth 400's offices to get an update from their executive director.
One of the things that we're really is important to this commemoration is to gain the participation of other towns, and so the towns of Duxbury and Kingston have already expressed an interest in being a part of this, and we know that Middleborough and Lakeville and towns around us are all very interested in being a part of the 400th. So we've made presentations to their selectmen. We've also been working very closely with Provincetown and other towns on Cape Cod because of the story and how important it is to the Cape, because the Mayflower Compact was written off the tip of the Cape, and so we work very closely with those communities. We welcome any community who has ties to this piece of history or who wants to become involved to contact our office. Right now we are planning for our Bass and Blue fishing tournament, and that is July 11th and 12th, but we have a really special guest coming on the 9th. And that is Greg Scommel. He's a shark conservancy advocate, and he is a scientist, and he's going to be speaking at our Captains and Crew gathering on the 9th, which will be at Brewers Marine. And you can find out more about all of this on our website, but he will be talking about the shark beacons that Plymouth has purchased to put out in the waters to know when and where these sharks are. And we are adding a seafood component to this because we'd like to grow it into a seafood festival. But this year we're doing a seafood smackdown with a celebrity chef, Ray Alonji, and he's going to choose the recipes from 2 homemakers, and we will have those 2 homemakers have a smackdown on the Saturday the 11th. And then we have Forefathers Family Fun Day, August 1st, which is a Saturday, and this year we're expanding that to include the immigration story of Plymouth and the surrounding communities. So we will not only have the Wampanoag and Pilgrim story at Forefathers Monument, and activities and entertainment and children's activities, but we'll also have the Italians who came here for Cordage Company, the Portuguese fishing community will have represented. We're looking at other communities to have represented, Cape Verde community and the Brazilian community that's so popular and here now and on the Cape. So we're going to take all of those cultures and bring them together in food, fun, children's activities, and entertainment.
The Spire in Plymouth will be presenting the Three Musketeers over the next few weeks. It's a homecoming of sorts for Americana Theater company owner Derek Martin, as the Plymouth native plays a role in this sword-fighting adventure. We stop by while they practice their sword play.
The Three Musketeers is more than just a Snickers bar without peanuts and caramel. It's a classic 17th century tale by Dumas featuring plenty of swordplay. The Americana Theater Company is putting a bit of a 21st century twist on the script and bringing the show to the Spire in Plymouth.
I think everybody you would speak to would know the Three Musketeers, right? They may not have heard the full story, but they'll know that phrase, right? It is a play full of adventure, romance, humor. It's completely accessible. It's 3D fighting in your face, and it's going to be nothing but a great time. People will leave smiling, happy, and maybe more in love with somebody than before. I don't know.
And with good-looking men and beautiful women sword fighting on stage, what's not to fall in love with?
I think by selling this, literally doing fights, we have massive amounts of fights. It's an updated script. It's a great new script. It's hysterical. A lot of people don't realize, as much of an adventure as it is, it's a complete comedy. It's a comedy that everyone can love. And so I'm sure that people will just be leaving telling all their friends. It's fantastic, so much fun.
Since the show promised to be so action-packed, we thought we'd stop in while they practice their fight scenes.
It was really fun to prepare for the role because there was a lot of physical preparation to learn to sword fight. I did not know anything about sword fighting, and learning to sword fight totally fulfilled every childhood Treasure Island dream ever, so that was really cool. It's challenging. There's a whole new vocabulary that comes when you learn how to sword fight, so many new movements. It's rigorous, it's physically demanding, but it's super fun. I'm a dancer. I've been dancing for about 8 years, and sometimes in choreography, fight choreography rehearsal, it was really beneficial and it was great, and then sometimes it was horrible because you're a little bit more grounded when you're fighting with a sword, and you just have to start everything out really, really slow and then work up to a performance speed.
For the actors, the tightrope walk is making the fights look real and avoiding actually hurting each other.
The most difficult thing is making sure it's safe but still believable. You want to make sure you're targeting, you want to make sure that, if I'm cutting to your shoulder, I'm not missing and hitting you in the head or anything like that. So I want to be safe, but at the same time, I want the audience to believe, yeah, absolutely, I'm going at them like I'm going to cut their head off. That's real tough.
And this isn't just a local cast. The actors in this troupe hail from points all over the lower 48 states.
We have 18 actors in the cast, and they are from California, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia. They're from all over, and we're having a great time coming together to tell the story.
Representing Virginia, young Amelia Dobbs hopes her character leaves a lasting impression, not just on the young girls in the audience, but maybe the boys too.
I hope that little girls come and see Sabine and think, hey, I can do that, and I hope boys come and maybe fall a little bit in love with her, not because she's pretty, but because she's very strong and she's very passionate.
Opening night for the Three Musketeers is Thursday, July 9th. It will then run Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for the next 3 weekends. At the Spire, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News.
Lots of work. I remember seeing as a kid the movie The Three Musketeers, but this is live on stage.
Right.
Lots of work to get this done.
Oh, it should be great. And the choreography for sword fighting must be so hard compared to dance.
Yeah.
You don't want to hurt anybody. Doctor's orders will take us to the Cordage Park and BID's Spine Care Center.
Hello, my name is Dr. Ian Paskowski, and I'm the Medical Director of the Spine Care Program at the Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital in Plymouth. And this is PCN's Doctor's Orders. The most common condition for low back pain is acute onset after a lifting or forward bending activity. Low back pain is a common condition affecting 90% of the population in the United States. Most commonly, low back pain will resolve within 2 to 4 weeks with simple use of ice and or heat, anti-inflammatory medications, and activity modification. By activity modification, we mean avoiding the activity that caused the low back pain in the first place. So for instance, if you were shoveling snow, like we had this past winter, you want to avoid shoveling snow. Most commonly, the low back pain will resolve on its own using these modifications or therapeutic options. However, in the case that the low back pain does not resolve within the 2 to 4 week time period, you should call your primary care physician and or seek the counseling of a physical therapist, chiropractor, or other spine care specialists. In these situations, additional specific exercises, stretches, therapy, or manipulation may be of benefit to manage the low back pain. If you have significant weakness in your lower extremity, meaning you can't pick your foot up, if you can't control your bowel and bladder function, if you undergo or experience significant trauma associated with a low back pain onset, and or you just can't get yourself feeling better within 4 weeks, again, you want to seek the advice of your primary care physician. You don't have to suffer with low back pain, and it does not have to limit your quality of life. If you need help, seek the guidance of a professional and ask questions related to your condition and get control of your back pain.
Town Talk takes us up north to Pembroke for this summer update.
Well, hi folks, this is Ed Thorne, Pembroke Town Administrator, giving you a preview of what we anticipate in the months of July and August. July will kick off our swim program at Town Landing and Little Sandy Beaches, and looking forward to another successful summer. We have sometimes in excess of 180 kids that are involved in our swim program, so it's highly successful. This summer we're adding 2 more beaches to our inventory. We'll be including Stetson Pond and Furnace Pond as 2 new beaches. We've installed new docks in there, and we hope to have some lifeguards stationed at those beaches as well. Whether we will have swim lessons at those 2 will be determined at a later date, but right now we're looking forward to having 4 ponds in Pembroke available to the public for their enjoyment. In addition to that program being kicked off, we have several ongoing programs that will be working hard this summer. One will be the solar array at the Cap landfill. We've been working on that now for several months, and we're hopefully putting together an agreement so that Sun Edison and the town will have an agreement, and we can start construction at that particular project within the next several months. Another project that we'll be looking at to be included at possibly the fall town meeting is what to do with the community center. There'll be a series of meetings with the entities that are currently occupying the building, including the Recreation Commission, and we'll be determining what the life expectancy of the building would be. We've already determined that it's going to be better to completely replace the building with a new building as opposed to renovating the existing structure. So that's going to be a high priority for us for the rest of the summer, so that we might have something for the fall town meeting to chew on. Probably some monies that are going to be necessary for engineering at that. In addition to that particular project, another huge project that the town faces is the Route 14 corridor expansion. Right now we are having people come into Town Hall to talk about the easements that are being required for their property, and hopefully we'll have everything in place by the time this project goes out to bid in late September. So those are some of the things that we've got right now dealing with in the town of Pembroke.
Thanks for watching this week's show. Replay times are listed at PACTV.org, or you can catch us on YouTube.
And be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter for previews and links to all our stories.
Next week, we're going to take a small break so PACTV can show all the 4th of July parades and concerts happening in our communities. So we'll see you with a new show on July 16th. From all of us at PACTV Community News, have a safe and wonderful 4th of July.